All right. I don't know where to begin. It's been a while, almost a year since I sat down to record an episode of the Rabblecast, and a lot has happened in that time. One thing in particular, well, all right, let's start, from way back when. The last episode I left off with was episode 600. I actually recorded 601 back in the day, as they say, and I went through the editing, and something didn't feel right as I sat through the playback. I didn't like the way I spoke. I didn't like the way the episode sounded. The subject material of that episode I will probably cover again in the near future because things will come around again, I'm sure. There's nothing I'm hiding on that one either. It's I was going over, what was the name of the movie now? It was a Charlize Theron episode, essentially. It was the show Hyperdrive on Netflix, which apparently she helped produce, which is a fun Netflix-made show where they find a bunch of different drivers who have their classic cars, muscle cars, hodgepodge cars, whatever the case was, and they put them through an obstacle course of sorts. I talked about that. If you haven't had a chance to watch Hyperdrive, it's been on Netflix for some time now. I hope it's still on there as I'm talking about it now. Give yourself a chance, and especially if you're home or if you have some time over the summer, it's worth a watch. It's a fun show. It tugs at your heartstrings at certain points because they do have some really, really interesting ways to tell the stories of some of the different contestants and everything else. So it's nicely done, and it's nice to know that Charlize Theron is trying to branch out on different things because she's not only in front of the camera. She's doing a lot of things behind the camera and behind the scenes. She's a very, very busy woman. I'm trying to remember the name of the other freaking thing that I talked about, and it's driving me nuts that I can't remember it. So, of course, now since I have all of man's knowledge in my pocket, I'm going to quickly try to look it up real fast as I talk about things and try to, kill some time, essentially. But she was in a movie on Netflix that came out called The Old Guard. There it is. That I talked about in the unreleased episode. I'm not going to release the episode itself. Like I said, when I was talking about the different subject matter, something felt off. So let me just say, I spoke about Hyperdrive. I spoke about The Old Guard, starring Charlize Theron, written by Greg Rucka, who's a very famous comic book writer and novelist. So if you get a chance, check all that out. But not to have it play second fiddle to what's going on, I do want to talk about why episode 601 will more likely just stay in the vault. It's not what I'm proud of. I've had duds when it comes to episodes in the past. No fault to anybody else. Me personally, I'm pretty harsh on how the episodes turn out sometimes, and I felt that this one in particular, just wasn't great, especially since I'm doing it by myself. It just sounded off, sounded weird. The pacing just wasn't there. So I put it to the side, fully intending to re-record that episode. So much time has passed now, it doesn't make sense to re-record it unless maybe once things are caught up again and once I have some time to sit down and go over my notes. I had notes for that one. Maybe that was the problem. Then maybe I might sit and talk about it again. Old Guard will be getting a sequel on Netflix. Thankfully, that was recently announced because they said the script is finished and it will be filming shortly. Hyperdrive, I haven't heard anything about a newer season. I haven't looked it up since I covered it for that episode. And that was all of last year. I recorded that, middle of July, end of July, somewhere around there. I believe the last episode that came out was July 13th. And then that one was supposed to be the follow-up, 601. And life took over. It's the best way I can put it. I know we as a people, we as a world, have been living in a really, really crazy, tumultuous time. Everybody kept talking about, the new normal and when we get back to normal, whatever the case is. We're living today, current time, current day, in a very crazy world. Not just because of a pandemic, but all the other craziness that's happened day to day, created by us, the human race. So with that, work got really busy. taking care of my kids got really busy. Life got really busy. The home life got really busy. Things just got out of hand, in the sense that making a podcast, it's not that it didn't interest me anymore. I always thought about it. I've always talked about it. If you watched the Facebook fan page, I would post up updates every now and then saying new episodes coming soon, new this coming soon. And I don't know, it just never really panned out. I never really got back to it. I never had a chance to really sit down, with having the kids' bedtime, it being an obstacle or a hurdle. If you have kids, you might have an understanding what I'm talking about. That with a day job got really interesting because my current job is a little bit more demanding in certain respects and a little bit more lax in others. It's kind of weird to really explain. I work in electronics. So if anybody who's worked in the electronics field as far as soldering, assembly, production, all that stuff, it's depending on your task, depending on what you're asked to do. There are sometimes it's a breeze, and there's other times you come home and there's like a horrible pain in your neck and your back's all, stiff and everything else. It's hard to really explain in just a few moments that I'm trying to cover this and explain what happened between 6/01 of last year and where I'm currently sitting right now. I'm sitting in the same studio. I'm back at home base. I've got the toys that made us once again playing in the background as I'm doing work around the house. And I wanted to sit down. I'm like, you know what? I have some time before I go to sleep. I'm not tired. I can actually record. Everybody else in the house is passed out. They're sleeping. Let me record something. Let me talk about the things that I love. And I figured, what the hell? Let me sit down, see what comes out. And there's no notes. There's no really, anything to go off of, other than I've been wanting to do this for almost a year now, to sit down and talk about different things. Now, with that said, I have had conversations with other friends, some old, some new, about the show. People who are willing to help out, people who love what they were listening to, people who enjoy listening to the podcasts, and some who have even gone back and listened to old episodes. See, that's another thing that's changed. Since you last listened to this show, I have grown a year. I am now 40 years old. I'm an old bastard. If I wasn't before, if Doug wasn't in the background sitting there mocking me with our, how old we both were, I am now feeling it. I am now 40 years old. That was another adventure I'll talk about a different time. It was very depressing. Not to get into it here. Turning 40 was not the way I expected it to go. But even then, things have changed. Me, physically, I have changed. How do I explain this one? My bite, my teeth have, kind of changed a little bit. I've noticed that my wisdom teeth came in, and they never really bothered me in the past, but now they're bothering me in the sense that the way that they grew in, my mouth doesn't close the same way anymore. It's really fucking annoying. So in the past, where I've had trouble speaking and I would get tongue-tied with certain words, now especially, you might hear a slight lisp, and it's driving me nuts. I will be getting it taken care of sometime down the line. I don't know. You won't hear another announcement about it unless it's like an adventure that really, takes it on a life of its own. But it's something that's really been bothering me and hindered me in certain respects, because when I want to sit down and talk about different things, I can't say certain words without having to adjust my jaw. It's really weird. So I'm living with it. I'm old. What can I say? I'm adjusting to it. And I will continue to adjust to it until they put me into the ground. That's all I can say about that. But I really wanted to sit down. I wanted to go over things. I'm not picking a subject. I'm not picking a show or a story. This is just me catching up with you. Hey, how's it going? How you been? I miss you guys. I miss if you've written into the show, if you've left comments on the Facebook fan page, on Twitter, anything like that. I miss interacting with everybody, to the point where I think I'm going to try to be a little bit more open as far as interactions. In the past, I've been a little bit more private, hidden in that respect, well guarded, I guess you can say, only because I really don't know what to say. I sound like a moron on microphone, so I can only imagine that when I talk through text or through social media, I sound like even more of a moron. So take that for what it's worth. But if this is your first episode to the Rabblecast, I'm sorry. Let me give new listeners a rundown. It's something that I always, I've taken from the late, great Stan Lee, that every time you open up a comic book, that could be somebody's first adventure, that for their first foray into the world of comic books. So you want to make it open and inviting and let it be a ground floor that people can jump in on and not be lost in all the shuffle. So if you've listened to the past few minutes of me going on about a previous episode that I recorded last year, it won't be released, but might be re-recorded, whatever the case was. Here we are right now. This is the Rabblecast. This is a podcast that started out as a labor of love. Let me go a little bit further back, because this is something I really haven't talked about in the past. Growing up, I've always wanted to sit down and talk. I always find it really interesting. I like asking questions. I'm very curious. I like to take things apart and put them back together, just so I can figure out how things work. I do that with conversations. I do that with movies. I do that with comics. Just about anything I come across, I try to deconstruct things and figure out how it works. When it comes to sitting down and talking to people, I always thought it was interesting to see where people would come from with their point of views. So growing up, I always wanted to be some kind of an entertainer. I don't want to say I wanted to be famous, because that just sounds kind of selfish and silly. I mean, the dreams of a 10-year-old, I want to be in movies, whatever the case was. No, I wanted to sit down and have a show. What that show was, I had no clue. But way back when Wayne's World came out, the idea of having a show on public access, which was something that was accessible to people who knew how to do it. I did not know how to do that back in the day. But the idea of being able to go into your basement, quote unquote, and record a show and then broadcast it to everybody else. Back then, that sounded amazing. I wanted to do that. I tried to get a bunch of different friends in the past to sit down and try to record some type of show with me. My one cousin did it with me one time. There's like a lost, rambling recording of him and I singing like songs and everything else. It sounded horrible. Didn't go anywhere. He went on to become a musician. He's pretty cool. Me, not so much. I'm sitting here doing this. I got other friends to help out with different things, different respects, and see what happens. Go on later, I get exposed to guys like Howard Stern. This is a tricky one. I don't really like Howard Stern so much. I enjoyed what he did. Let's put it that way. I know I'm going to piss some people off with my opinion on this one, but it's my opinion, so fuck it. I appreciate what Howard Stern did for the world of radio. The idea that he pushed past certain boundaries, that he was able to be edgy, quote unquote. And the shock jock thing, I mean, that got ratings, obviously. And yeah, young me wanted to have things like that. Like you invite exotic guests on your show and have really interesting conversations, do little weird jokes or skits. The idea of having a naked model in your recording studio. Young teenage me especially, with all the hormones raging. Love that idea. Then you fast forward to Opie and Anthony that I listened to back on the radio back in the day. And, I wish they were still together, but if you ever look into the history of Opie and Anthony, it sucks that they broke up and got into different feuds and they don't like each other, whatever the case was. But I love the guys back in the day with the skits, the jokes, the comedians, the sit down, the general idea of sitting down and listening to people just go on certain riffs, certain routines, certain stories. I love that idea. That was closer to what I had thought I wanted to do. Then you go a little bit further. I'm skipping over an essential part, but I'll get back to it. Then you go a little bit further to a guy like Joe Rogan, which is very, very similar, who is now, let's face it, at the peak of the world of podcasting. He quite literally does whatever he wants. He sits down. He has what he refers to as fuck you money, due to his previous work in news radio, hosting Fear Factor, commentating for the UFC. He is able to build himself a financial well of resource, if you would, so that he can do whatever he wants. He doesn't have a boss. He doesn't have anybody telling him yes or no. You're sure he has some friends telling him to sit down, relax, you maybe should edit this or not talk to that person. But love him or hate him, he does what he wants. He's his own boss. That's something that I always thought was very enticing and very interesting to me. So I would love to do something like that. Do I want to be Joe Rogan? Fuck no. He is a crazy son of a bitch. I love him. I'm entertained by his show. I learn some things from time to time, but I don't want to be him. I would rather be me. Now, let's jump back a little bit further. The show has now been going on for 15 years. This is not how I was hoping the 15th year of the show to be going, or the 15th anniversary. I was hoping the show would be a little bit further along, doing a bunch of different things. I had ideas, plans, whatever the case was, but that never came to it. This show originally started as a radio demo for New Jersey 101.5. There was a disc jockey, a DJ, who was making fun of his engineer on air at the time. And I felt bad for the engineer, but I also got the idea that the disc jockey, the personality, was just being a pain in the ass. I was at work. I was doing some kind of like summer job, whatever the case was back then. And I decided I was going to call in and defend the engineer. And I pretty much challenged the disc jockey at the time. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. He was a prominent NJ 101.5 disc jockey. And he pretty much asked me the question, do you think you could do my job? And I said, well, yeah, sure. He goes, fine. Put a demo together, send it in, and we'll see what you got. I said, you got it. No problem. I hung up the phone, called up a friend, my friend being Jamie back in the day. For old listeners, Jamie and I got together and we did the first iteration of the Rabblecast, which was a companion piece, almost in a sense, or shoot off of the Monday Night Rabble, which was a blog that Jamie wrote with all of our reactions. So it was the results of Monday Night Raw with all of our little quips and jokes and statements, whatever the case was, just to make it fun and entertaining for anybody who's reading, catching up through the blog. Jamie and I ended up doing that pretty much in regards to all wrestling. And for quite some time, we did pretty well. The first episode of the show, which is referred to as the pilot episode, I guess now you can call it, or the failed demo, and it's only failed in the sense that it never went out. Neither one of us sent it out. Jamie honestly had no, how do I put this? It wasn't his responsibility to send the demo out, because I asked him to sit down and just have fun with me and talk with me, and he and I had chemistry that worked really well. I didn't know where to send it at the time. Like at the time, YouTube and all that kind of stuff really wasn't like as accessible. It wasn't as easy to send an audio file back in the day. And for me, I was like, you know what, screw it. You want to sit there and do this? And it became a regular occurrence for Inside Pulse at the time. And we had fun with it. And they never told us yes, no, or don't say this, don't do that. They essentially gave us free reign. So we just kept doing silliness. We talked about wrestling. Later on, we included some friends. Mike joined us later on, Mike Quest, as one of the hosts, and Mike took over at one point when Jamie left. And then when Mike ended up leaving the show himself, I asked Doug to sit in whenever Mike was not available initially, and then he just essentially transitioned into taking over that spot and helped me co-host the show. So he and I would host together, and it became a different iteration of the Rabblecast. You gotta forgive me here. I've got a bunch of wires. I somehow took a simple setup and complicated it. Don't ask me how I did it, but I found a way. So I've got wires all over the place, and I'm trying to just figure out how this is going to work out well enough. But yeah, it just became that, where Doug and I would sit down, we'd talk about different, not just wrestling. Wrestling would be talked about in passing, in a sense, where we might talk about a pay-per-view or a big story. Otherwise, we talk about TV, movies, current events, whatever the case was. And then Doug would bring his horrible events in history, which would be a little nice history lesson for people who like really fucked up shit that happens in our world from time to time. And again, we've lived through something recently that's really fucked up, but that, who knows, maybe that'll be an episode down the line that Doug brings. So I've talked to Doug in recent weeks, and he and I have kept in touch, especially after he moved away to take care of some family business, and he is open to doing the show again, only because it became whether if he had time. He didn't feel right having to drive back and forth to do the show. And I told him, look, you're not going to kill yourself driving long distances just to do the show. That sounds ridiculous. We don't get paid to do this. I would like to one day, eventually. That's still a dream of mine, if that's possible. But I'm not going to sit there and ask a friend to put himself through hell just to make the show possible on his end. I can sit down, I can sit and ramble and talk and figure out ways to make this work. I've even talked about I've talked to other friends nearby, and they've also said, hey, look, if you need somebody, let me know. I said, all right, we'll see what happens. So long story short on that end, I'm hoping it won't just be me talking into a microphone in the coming weeks and months. I'm hoping I can find a way to sync up people's schedule so that we can find a way to do it, and it's fun and exciting and entertaining for anybody who's listening. Because really, let's face it, if you're on your way to work, at the gym, out for a walk, at home doing something, whatever the case was, right, or is, you're going to want to listen to something that's going to make you laugh, something that might make you cry a little bit, but something that's going to keep you entertained going forward. That's my main goal for this, at least. So, let's see, where am I at? Not too bad for the first go around. I have to thank my wonderful wife. She gave me a new recorder for my 40th birthday. And like I said, it's supposed to simplify things a little bit easier. It's a smaller, more compact recorder. My other recorder started having a little bit of issue every now and then where, I don't know, something weird was happening with it where it would just stop recording for like 2 to 3 seconds worth of the conversation. And there would be like a weird jump in the conversation that I would have to try to fix or edit, just make sure that it sounded cohesive. And more often than not, I was able to make that happen. Sometimes it just sounded odd, but nobody ever said anything. So if you've never caught it before, great. I was doing my job well. If you listen to it, you're like, well, fuck this. Well, I apologize. Like, what can I say? This is a labor of love, which is a cliched thing for me to say. And there's that mouth thing again. But I am trying my best. I'm a one-man army when it comes to this right now. I'm sitting down, again, in a mess of wires. But I'm trying to get something out just to give everybody an idea of what happened. The show has never really gone away. I never said, I'm done, that's it. I never called it quits. I never, say, I will never record again. Fuck the shit. No, none of that ever happened. I just, like I said, life took over. And I've always said in the past, especially to other people who say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't make the show tonight, or can we record it another night? This show does not take precedence over everyday life. If something important comes up, obviously drop everything, go take care of everyday life. The real stuff, the important things. This show is just a way to get things off of my chest. When Doug and I were doing it together, we used to refer to it as our weekly therapy sessions, because not only would we record the show itself, but then we'd go outside after recording. He would smoke a clove, I would sit there, and we would just tell like ridiculous wrestling stories or ridiculous work stories, whatever the case was. We would just have fun hanging out, which was the fun part about doing the show with Doug. Was it wasn't just, hey, let's get together because we have to do a show. No, let's get together because we have fun getting together. It's an excuse to get together and have a conversation. How often do you do that on a regular basis with somebody? Doug and I would do it once a week just to hang out and have fun. The show was just an excuse. Oh, we're going to sit down and hit record with some microphones? Okay, let's do it. I guess this is going to be recorded for, for however long somebody hosts it on the server somewhere out in the internet. Or however long somebody downloads it on their smartphone or device, whatever the case is, and keeps it on their storage space. So, cool. All right, let's do that. But it was never a thing of, fuck, man, I have to go talk to Doug, or fuck, man, I have to let Eric come over again. No, it was, as far as I know. No, Doug would tell me. As far as I knew, it was never along those lines. It was never like, fuck, I have to do this again. No. Sitting down, having conversations, learning things, having interactions, telling dumb jokes back and forth. That's the draw of the show, at least for me. I know Doug's had fun with it in the past. I have other friends that I sit down with and we talk about a different array of topics. Take your pick, whether it be movies, TV, video games, politics. Yeah, I talk about politics every now and then, although I try to avoid that. Only because it's so fucking polarizing when you talk to somebody about it. You can't just have a conversation and then have a disagreement, but then still be civil afterwards with some people. not naming names, but it's nobody who's been on the show, thankfully. But we'll find a way to, have a conversation, have fun about it, reach some common ground, tell some stupid jokes, have some dumb riffs, and say, that was fun, great, let's do it again tomorrow, let's do it again next week. And we get together and have some fun and talk about different things. Now, in the time that I've done the show and sat down and recorded an episode, there's been a lot of different things. And again, not talking about the pandemic. I mean, everybody's heard about it. Everybody's been through it. If you've lost somebody because of the pandemic, I know we have lost a few friends and family. It's heartbreaking. It's fucking devastating, man. It really is. But I hate to sound trite and I hate to sound cold, but life goes on. It really fucking does. After I'm done with this, I'm going to go lay down. I'm going to go try to get some rest. And my son's going to wake up early in the morning and he's not going to say, oh, Dad, you had a rough day? It's okay. Just relax. No, he's going to sit there, look at me and goes, Dad, time to wake up. And then he's going to ask me to come play video games or watch TV with him or let's go out to the park, whatever the case is. He's going to ask me to do something. So I have a little bit of time off of work, thankfully, so I get to spend some more time with my family in the next couple days. But it's ongoing. It's that I haven't quoted this in a while, and I'm not going to do a direct quote, but it's that one line from Parenthood with Steve Martin. You never spike the football, you never celebrate, whatever the case is. The goalposts always move in life, people. That's something I have had to come to terms with and a realization of, that no matter what, you have a goal today. Let's say today you wake up this morning, or whenever you listen to this, you wake up, you go out, and you're like, I have to go grocery shopping. I have to fix a door at the house, or I have to fix my headlight on my car. Okay, you go, you get that done today. Guess what? Tomorrow, there's another fucking goal. It never fucking ends. That's something that I have had to become painfully aware of. So, it's being a parent is an adventure in of itself. There are some hard times, there's some happy times. All together, though, it's made me appreciate not just my life, but their lives as well. It's taught me quite a few different things, and it's made me want to sit down and talk about more stuff. So, but as I was saying before, there's so many things that have gone on as far as the world of entertainment. We've lost some great actors and writers and directors. We've lost some great entertainers. There's new releases of intellectual properties, some old properties coming back. There's a bunch of different things I can talk about now. Not like there wasn't before, but there's just so much. It just never stops. It's ongoing because it's a machine. It just keeps grinding and turning. More stuff gets put out and people keep consuming it and keep watching and keep buying. So, of course, there's things to talk about, and that's what makes it fun. Sitting down and being able to talk about the things that we love, the things that we enjoy. Now, I'm not going to sit here and shit on something just for the sake of shitting on it. If there's anything I've learned through different people that I've listened through podcasts, movies, whatever the case is, you don't have to sit there and harp and shit on something. If you don't like it, don't like it. Then move on. What's the point of talking about it? The more you talk about it, you're actually giving it more attention. So the thing that you hate, you're actually promoting in a sense. I don't agree with that. If there's something I don't like about, in regards to a project, a movie, a TV, whatever the case is, you're probably not going to hear about it from me. I'm going to focus on the things that I enjoy and the things that I like. And if somebody wants to bring me something that they enjoy, I'm not going to sit there and, rain on their parade just because they enjoy something. I'm sure there'll be a bunch of different topics that come up that, it be a video game or a movie. Somebody goes, oh, I love this TV show. I'm like, really? All right, well, that's your thing. And in that respect, I will sit there and try to understand through their eyes, through their point of view, what makes you enjoy this? What makes you entertained by this? And then maybe I can get a different perspective, a fresh perspective on it. But I'm not going to sit there and just shit on it just to shit on it. That seems counterproductive, and that seems like a waste of time. Life is too fucking short. If that's one thing that we've all should learn from this past 16 months, life is fucking short. So why not enjoy the things that we enjoy? Why not sit down, have good conversations, have good company, and talk about the things that entertain us, the things that make us think, the things that make us learn, the things that make us appreciate everyday life. How's that? Is that good? I think that's a good way to stop. All right, like I said, I'm sitting here in a mess of wires. It's a little warm. I had to turn off the AC so I didn't have a loud hum in the background. But I'm hoping this is going to become more of a regular thing. Like I said, I have a few days off of work in the near future, so I'm going to work on simplifying this rig in a sense, as I'm looking at, again, the mess that I've caused myself. And from there, try to figure out how this is going to work. I'll pick a night. I'll try to reserve some time. Maybe it's just me you'll be listening to again for a few episodes. I'm hoping to have other people come on. Like I said, once I get things situated and I get a little bit more, I guess really what it comes down to is I need like one or two more essential pieces of equipment to make it happen. I have the microphones. I have the recorder. I have the memory card. I just need a few more things just to make it a little bit easier to take phone calls. Well, I'll say that right now, out the gate. In the past, I was never really crazy about having phone calls be part of the show because of audio quality, but I think we might have found a way around that. So we'll try and see how that works. And then I've also had other people say, hey, look, I would love to help out in any way that I can. So I will be calling on those people and see what happens in the near future. And then we'll see what happens from there as well, because now that things are opening up again, things are being less restrictive as far as travel and everyday life. Hopefully there's a way that I can go and do some of the interviews that I talked about pre-pandemic. I know there's a couple people that said, hey, we never did this. Some people have said, maybe it'll come around again. Oh, excuse me. That was cut out. You don't have to worry about all that nastiness. Again, little things I'm trying to get back in the swing of. This really is interesting. If there's something I've learned as I was talking about the different interviews, doing a podcast, having any amount of time where you sit down and talk, whether it be with somebody or by yourself, it is kind of like a muscle. And if you don't do it on a regular basis, you kind of forget how to do it. Because right now I'm having trouble just trying to hold my breath and not make like those weird sounds into the microphone. I have headphones on, thankfully, this time around, so I'm trying to avoid any craziness. But I don't know. We'll see what it sounds like on the playback, and you'll hear this once it gets put out, hopefully. Unless it's got like these horrible like dubstep sounds in the background, then I'm like, fuck that, I gotta put it away. It's not coming out at all. But we'll figure something out. But as I was saying before, some of the interviews hopefully will come back around as people have different things to talk about, promote. There were people who had things that were coming out and everything just got put on hold. Other things have come and gone, whatever the case was, but I'm hoping to branch out a little bit more. And I'm hoping to grow the show. And with that, I ask you, if this is reaching you right now and you've enjoyed the show in the past, then I'm asking for your help. That's really what it comes down to with this episode. I wanted to explain where I've been for the past year and change, but also say that thank you for listening to the show. And I am actually putting out a call for help, a call to arms, in a sense, for all Rabblecast listeners. And that is that if you've enjoyed the show, rate the show on iTunes. I'm going to try to push it out into different platforms and see what I can get. This will be going up on YouTube still, so long as they don't think I'm controversial. Hopefully, I don't see a problem with that. I've never put up anything that really puts up any red flags for them. So, but hopefully, I can ask for people, the Facebook fan page, if you like it or if you follow it. Again, I try to put up different links, like the occasional movie trailer, the occasional news story. I will try to do that a little bit more again in the future, and we'll see what happens as far as that's concerned. If you like it, share it, please. Same with the show. Rate it, like it, subscribe to it. On YouTube, if you listen there, if you look up the show, whatever you can, give us a like, give us a subscription, and I'm just going to try to push like crazy. And I'm going to see if I can't create more content in respect of maybe, I don't want to say premium because that just sounds like a cash grab. Because trust me, this is not a cash grab. If I can figure out a way that the show can become, how do I put this? If I can find a way for the show to pay for itself every month, because I've still been paying for my Libsyn subscription so I can post the show up and host the show on their service. If I can find a way for the show to pay for itself, so it's not out of pocket for me, fantastic. If I can grow the show to the point where I can start putting out merch, different things like that, even better. Because I just want people to enjoy. If I can put up a dumb t-shirt or a piece of artwork, whatever the case is, we'll find something. Something on a mug, something on a hat, a pin. Whatever. If you guys want it, we'll find a way to put it together. That's what I want to do. I want this to be more of a community in a sense where if you find this show funny, then bring a friend to the show. Let them know, hey, he's got some dumb wrestling jokes, or hey, he's got some dumb insights on this. Whatever the case is. If you guys enjoy it, fine. If you don't enjoy the show, there's the stop button. There's the the forward button, whatever the case is. Just move on to the next thing. No hard feelings. I get it. It's just not for everybody. And especially right now as I'm sitting here trying to hold back another cough. I get it. There's so much out there as it is. This show, again, has been running for 15 years now. I guess I'm still counting 15, thank you, even though the show has been kind of dark for the past year. It's still out there. People still listen to it. Why? I really don't know, but it resonates with some people. And with that in mind, I figured, okay, I owe it to the people who still enjoy the show to do something more with it. Because it was going in a great direction. It's not like they stopped. It's just, it was put on hold. And now, the show is... I would like to think the show is back. Watch, fast forward to next year. Hey guys, I've been gone for a year. That's not the case. We'll figure out what we can do. We'll figure out how this is going to work. We'll put out some more episodes. We'll find ways to get people involved. And I want people to have fun. So, again, Facebook fan page, if you follow us on there, at Rabblecast on Twitter. I haven't made an Instagram page yet because I really don't have anything to post up as far as pictures are concerned. But if anybody can come up with suggestions, I'd be willing to listen. So we'll see what happens as far as that's concerned. Facebook is the main go-to. The YouTube page or YouTube channel, if anybody wants to listen on there. iTunes, I'm going to try to see what it takes to put it on different platforms as well, because I want everybody to try to... Not everybody has an iPhone, or not everybody subscribes on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. I get it. So if you don't have it, we'll try to find a way to push it out so everybody can enjoy it as much as possible. That's all I want. If you have fun, great. If you're not, let me try next episode and see what I can do. So, with that said, I'm a good ways into this. I'm by myself for a little bit. So, thank you for listening. We are the Rabblecast.